This news just broke 2 days ago. The skull of a person long believed to be Cleopatra's half-sister, Arsinoe IV, turned out to actually be the skull of a young boy instead, and not Cleopatra's half-sister. This just raises so many questions, because archaeologists didn't just think that this was Arsinoe IV's skull for no reason. The very well-preserved skull and partial skeleton was found in Ephesus, Turkey, buried in an elaborate sarcophagus in the Octagon, a royal burial chamber that architecturally emulates buildings in Alexandria, Egypt, specifically Ptolemaic architecture and artwork. The logical assumption at the time was that whoever was buried inside was clearly of high status, likely royalty from the Ptolemaic dynasty. Now, the story between Arsinoe and Cleopatra is a very interesting one. I can do a video on that if y'all want, but it is believed that Cleopatra ordered the unaliving of her own sister for challenging her throne. Cleopatra exiled her to modern-day Turkey, where she would spend the rest of her days at the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus. That was until Cleopatra had her lover, Mark Antony, do away with her half-sister to secure her place as queen. Arsinoe was assassinated in 41 BCE on the steps at the Temple of Artemis. She was only 20 years old. So when a skull was unearthed in the Octagon at Ephesus, archaeologists were certain it was the queen for a day, Arsinoe IV. So who did this skull actually belong to if it wasn't Arsinoe? The research team used micro-CT, radiocarbon dating, and genetic DNA analysis to conclusively determine that this skull belonged to a young boy between the ages of 11 and 14 with Italian or Sardinian origins. What's more is that the skull suggests that this boy was not well. He appeared to have a significant developmental genetic disorder, possibly something called Treacher-Collins syndrome, a rare disease that affects facial development. This just leads to even more questions, like how did this boy end up in a royal tomb, and who was he actually? This is just a side note, but I find it very interesting. The analysis places the remains at around 41 BCE, which is when Arsinoe died. Could they be connected in some way? We don't know. But this leaves researchers scratching their head a little bit, because the Octagon was erected in memory of an important figure. So they were saying it's possible that it was built for someone else, quote, even someone currently unknown to history, unquote. Now, more than 2,000 years after her fateful death, the final resting place of Cleopatra's half-sister Arsinoe remains a mystery, which is such a twist of fate and kind of a mind trip, given that the location of Cleopatra's tomb is also unknown. Perhaps Dr. Kathleen Martinez can take on Arsinoe's case next. That would be awesome. My Teal Science family, please, please, please do not forget to follow me on Instagram, on YouTube, and Substack, all at TIL Science. We will rebuild this community brick by brick.